All right. Bill, Josh, thank you so much for doing this, man. I love the Mullets. I'm excited to talk about the Mullets. You did many projects, you did many shows, but I want to talk about the Mullets, man. And I
Good.
am psyched, stoked, and 100% enthused to talk about the Mullets.
Oh my God, this is fucking fantastic. Already, I'm loving this, Jeff.
Yes,
Th-
it brings back you talking like that. It just brings back delightful memories.
yeah.
Oh,
how did you even see the mullets is the question.
on
Yeah.
UPN. UPN. I loved UPN because they had wrestling
Yeah.
and reruns of Married with Children.
So, but you haven't seen it in 23 years since it was canceled, or have you seen it?
Oh, I've seen it. I got a bootleg from Europe.
Yeah, we got
What?
bootleg DVDs from Europe. Like I had no idea that like anybody had seen 1 second of it in outside of the United States.
Me
Um,
neither.
So that's kind of
it
crazy.
it is on YouTube.
I saw that. That just happened within the past year, too. Like I occasionally look for it, and I remember the only thing that was on there up until last year was like that 2 minute or 3 minute clip of the human beatbox, right? Whatever its guy's
Yeah.
name.
That was for
And
like 20 years. That was it.
that was all. But then, and there might have been a commercial for it. But then somehow last year, the episode started appearing, and it must be from somebody who has the DVDs, which is a very small group of people. Because the DVDs, Josh, they gave them to you and me, and maybe like two other people. And I know that they also have this copy protection on them, which makes that they don't work on a lot of devices. So I can only assume that someone high up in the administration of the Mullets leaked those to and put them on YouTube, which is great.
Um, it does look like it has like the UPN thing in the corner.
Oh,
So
so
I
somebody
think they
taped it.
recorded. Yeah, somebody recorded it off the TV.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad it's not lost media anymore because it was for quite some time, 20 years.
Yeah.
But there is three episodes that are lost media. Well, that I can't find. Those are like the last three episodes. Like they never aired, and I can't find them anywhere.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I
had
might have
total.
those on the DVDs,
Are
but they
those
may
on the
not work.
DVD? Yeah, because I had totally forgot about those as well. And I think the show started off awesomely, but those episodes were even
It was
better.
so good. That one with I watched that one with the guy from Back to the Future with Biff, right? Was that one of the
Oh
ones that never
yeah,
aired?
yeah.
No,
Oh,
That
did
that
aired?
that
one
air?
that aired because that's the one where they have to fix the roof.
Yes. I love that one. I watched that. I somehow I think that's on YouTube. Maybe that's where I saw it recently. But that's remarkable. And those last three episodes, yeah, we were really in our groove by then, man. This was we had a lot to say about this topic, Jeff. So
Oh yeah.
um we
So
definitely hit our stride.
so let me start off. Like, how'd you guys come up with the idea for the mullets, man? Where did it come from?
Do you remember? I
I
kind of remember some of it.
I remember some of it too. If you want to start, I'll fill
Okay.
in.
This was around I remember why we did this
Yeah, that's what
because
I remember.
it was a reaction to the Mission Hill. Because Jeff, you know that mainly we're most known for doing The Simpsons. We were on The Simpsons for 7 years. We were the showrunners. We were like, and then we did this show called Mission Hill, which was a beautiful project that we poured our soul into, and is an animated show that was really cool and interesting, and it still has a lot of fans today. But it was canceled right off the bat. And we were like, let's try to do something that is not going to get canceled right off the bat, that is going to be popular with middle America. And that we decided, like, all the stuff we had been doing and pitching was all kind of like alternative and it's like underground and whatever. Like, Mission Hill was all based on alternative comic books. And so around 2002, we were like, let's just for 1 year try to do stuff that I think will be popular rather than just super cool. And this was the year that we did both the monkeys and the mullets.
That's
Do you
right.
remember this? Okay, so now you tell me what
Yeah,
you remember. And so I
that's
remember I'll just say this was around the time that it was slightly after the time that Beavis and Butthead had become huge, but it was right around the time that Dumb and Dumber had become huge. And so we were like, there may be something in that ballpark. Now, Josh, you take over.
I just have a little bit to add to because also we just want to do something that was really really funny. Like we were like just go for the funny, go for the jokes,
Yeah.
and go big. That's what I
That
remember.
I remember this because I'll have a brief detour on the monkeys because what happened was both. It was a remarkable year because both our pilots got picked up, which is a rare, usually we do pilots every year, did two, and one would get picked up if we were lucky. But we got both pilots picked up, including the Monkees. And the Monkees was a reboot of the 1960s series produced by Simon Fuller, who created American Idol. So he was the hottest thing in town at that point. And the Monk, we actually cast the show, and the Monkey, it just never ended up getting made because we were too busy with the Mullets, because we love the Mullets. So anyway, the Mullets was one of those processes, a very rare Hollywood processes that was blessed from day one.
It
We
was
came, you remember
it
this?
was so enjoyable to do and so well supported by people like at the network
Yes.
until it was canceled. And it was like it was
Brothers until almost before it premiered because I think there was a company or a band that had the name
yeah, I
Mullet
think
Brothers
there was an
trademark.
actual company, construction
Yeah.
company, and they were like, "Well, these guys do construction. We
Something
better
like
not."
that.
I also, by a side note, I maintain too that if we had not called it the Mullets, like if we had called it like Life in the Valley, or some other more like generic, less crazy name, it might have had a better chance. Because I think a
Well,
lot of people dismissed it because of the name.
I think the problem was that it was this was back when it mattered what time you were on and what channel you were
Yeah,
on, which is also what killed Mission Hill. If had this been a streaming show, Mission Hill had been a streaming show, it would have been a huge success. If this show had been on the proper network at the proper time, I think it would have taken off, but it would have taken a while. Anyway, so
yeah.
let's take we'll walk you back to the glory days of 2002. It was also the network was right across the street from our office. Do you remember this? It was
Yes, that's right.
everything about this process was
It was
blessed.
so perfect.
We came up with this idea called the Mullet Brothers, and we were like, well, you know what the show was like. It was just like that. We had a meeting at UPN. This was when UPN was still a network. Now they combined that in the WB, which is where the Mission Hill was, into the CW like 15, 20 years ago, right? So we pitched this to UPN, which again was a 3-minute walk from the door of our office
Right.
to
And
their network.
we had an office on Wilshire, but after The Simpsons,
Yes.
then we had this office on Wilshire Boulevard. And literally, it was like, I think it's like 2 or 3 blocks. I drive by, they're not there anymore, UPN, but I drive by those offices, both ours and UPN's, every single day.
Yeah,
And everything about it, that including that was just easy and fun.
I
Go ahead.
agree. It was so. Okay, so this is funny, Jeff, and your listeners will know this is the first time we've ever gotten to tell any of these stories, so that's why we're so excited. Um, okay, so they loved it. They bought it. I think it might have been a put pilot, and which a put pilot means that they're going to commit to make it before they even see the script. And we wrote it, and I remember that writing it was really fun. I remember sitting in that office writing it and just having and going fucking nuts with our crazy behaviors and stuff to make it seem like it was Dwayne Mullet, and it was great. And then so I remember what happened was that they picked it up, and it was picked up late because UPN was on a crazy schedule and it was a small kind of outlet. And I remember we had didn't have that much time to make it and cast it and so forth. I remember it was picked up like late February, early March, and we had to have it ready for early May for the upfronts. Right? Do you remember any more of
Yes.
this?
Yes. I do remember all the casting was really fun too. Okay.
Yes.
People were like involved in the show were actually like cracking up during the casting. Like, 'cause remember Michael Weaver's
Oh my
audition?
God.
He
I
was
remember he
like,
was screaming at the head of Warner Brothers and Peter Roth, remember that? And Peter Roth was like, "This is awful." Do you remember that?
no, I don't remember that.
Okay. So okay, there was a lot of different guys who did a great job auditioning for this show, and some of them ended up.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
guy who plays Gordo was one of the auditioners, I believe, for Dwayne originally. Um, and we got a lot of great people coming in. But once we saw Michael Weaver, we knew this is the guy. But the thing is, I know they have to be approved by the studio and the network. So when we had to Michael Weaver perform for the studio, which was Warner Brothers, the president of Warner Brothers was in the room, and it was Peter Roth, and Michael Weaver was going like, "Dude, you fucking," like, and he was going absolutely ape shit, and the guy was terrified. Peter Roth was terrified. You remember this? And
I
he's
don't
like,
remember because I remember the other guy, the executive for the production company, Eric Tannenbaum, was cracking up.
"Yes," we were
Like
all
he was
cracking up.
loving it. But
And they
I
told
don't remember Peter Roth even
he
being
told
in the
he Peter
room.
Roth was terrified and was like, he's just screaming and yelling in my face. And Eric Tannenbaum had to go out of the room, and we told Michael Weaver, okay, take it down like 6 notches for the public. And he came back in and he did, and then everyone agreed he was magnificent. And the same thing happened with Hornsby. Didn't have that thing because he has a mellower performance. He got Earth bad. But I think the funnest part of this was actually casting for Mandy and Roger, as I recall, right? Like, I don't remember anybody we got for Mandy except for Lonnie. Like, right? Do you remember this? I don't remember
Yeah,
anyone else we even considered.
I'm trying to remember. I think we considered Denise Richards, or was she for the
She was for the
monkeys?
monkeys, I
She was
think.
for the monkeys. Okay, but I don't remember who, because like those time periods are conflated.
All I remember was I remember casting. Okay, so I think it was one with Lonnie. I think it was one of a suggestion of the casting director was like Lonnie Anderson. Like, oh my God, we were like, you could get Lonnie Anderson? Oh fuck that, of course. And then we got her. I don't even think she auditioned, but I don't remember how that worked. I do remember we had a lot of fun casting for Roger. And the only other guy I remember for Roger was Robert Urich, who was, remember him from Medical Center? Do you remember Roger? He was my second favorite guy because he came in and he had dressed up and he was wearing like a suit with like an
That's
ascot and
right.
stuff. You remember this?
I
And he
remember
was
that.
really
Yeah.
nice. And I loved him. And I think also, I don't know if it was Roger, but that was also when Biff came in. I remember Biff auditioning for something and he was so nice, man. And he did the whole like, "Hey McFly," he did it to me. Do you remember
Yeah,
this? Guys, he did it to my,
that's
and he's like,
awesome.
"Hey Oakley, hey," I said, "You're awake." I say, but I remember, I guess he wasn't right for Roger, but that's why we had him back and we wrote that role for him later. Anyway, so
That's side note. Every single person we cast was also super nice.
yeah,
Lonnie Anderson, Michael, David, every single person was so nice, and everyone we hired like on the writing staff. So it was just like it was like a ideal situation.
it was great. So we filmed this pilot on that stage. It was a stage that we ended up using. Was it the same stage that we ended up using at the Warner Brothers Ranch?
I do not remember where we filmed the pilot, but I remember a lot about Warner's Ranch.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the series,
Yeah.
this part of this discussion. Um, I remember filming the pilot. I remember how much fun it was and how perfect it seemed. Oh, and we had Gail Mancuso. She directed like almost all the episodes, right? She's so talented as a director for this kind of stuff. So I remember making the pilot, and then we didn't have the ending. Remember how we filmed a fake version of the ending because we ended up filming the real ending with the Dudley Boys after the show got picked up at the Staples Center? Do you remember
Yeah, I
this?
remember that.
Okay. So the whole episode we filmed an ending that was kind of like a half-assed version of the ending with the WrestleMania thing because we didn't really have WrestleMania. And I think we built a ring or something like that. Anyway, we turned to the pilot. I remember it being really like it was so smooth and it went so perfectly, especially compared to some of our other pilots that we had done around that time. And we edited it and it came great. We turned it in and they loved it. And it was the smoothest TV experience you could possibly imagine. And I remember the upfronts. I remember what happened was the upfronts are when and then New York they show the networks all have this 1 week where every network has a day and they show the new shows to advertisers, right? And it's a big deal. So I remember we had been traumatized by Mission Hill. And this is what happened. Do you remember Mission Hill?
Yes.
We flew to the upfronts and it was a catastrophe. And nobody, and 1,000 people in that room, not a single person laughed at the reel for Mission Hill, which in retrospect was still quite good. And those people were fucking idiots. But because many of the clips that we show now are the exact same ones that
Yeah,
we
it's
showed
true.
then, and they get huge laughs. But it was anyway. So we were traumatized, and Josh and I said we're not going to the upfronts. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay, we said we're not going. We're going to stay in LA. We're not going to even hear. I don't want to hear what happens at the upfronts. Okay, so but then we were like, is there a way we can watch it on satellite and just to see what happens? And we were in the basement. Do you remember we went to the basement of CBS Television City where they had a theater that was showing the broadcast of the upfronts from New York and a closed circuit broadcast. And it was I think it might have just been you and me, but maybe there were a couple other people there. And and all of a sudden this fucking thing premiered and it got immense laughs. Do you remember this?
No,
It,
I don't
okay,
remember this part.
and we were like, "Holy shit, this is really different than Mission Hill. People really like this thing." And then and then what happened was later that day, the UPN had maybe just hours later, they had like some sort of reception with all the stars, and people were lining up in long lines to have their photos taken with the mullets. with the Mullet brothers and Mandy and Roger, and it was a smash hit. And I remember this was like we were like, wow, this is really different than Mission Hill. We should have gone to the upfronts because everybody loves this fucking thing. Do you remember any of this?
I remember the feeling. I do distinctly remember the feeling of we should have gone. I
Mhm.
don't remember the lead up to it.
Okay. So they put it. Now this is where the trouble began. They put it on. I think it was what Monday night at nine
And also,
thirty.
by the way, I believe it tested really well too,
Yes, yes. Also, unlike
which
all
is
of our other
unusual
projects.
too.
Yes, it was really blessed. It was blessed. But then the trouble began because this was a network that was only broadcasting 2 or 3 nights a week, right? And they had a limited number of time slots. I'm sorry, Jeff. If you have any questions, I'm just monologuing here. So go.
No, no, this is good. You're answering all my questions,
Okay,
man.
okay. It's exciting to finally unload all this. Um, the the trouble began when the time slot was chosen. It was the same thing that happened to Mission Hill. Jesus Christ, and I could see it coming down the pike. This is a network that only broadcasts a couple nights a week, right? And this is we're talking about the era when broadcast TV was the thing. It was cable. There was HBO. There was like two things
There's
on
no
HBO.
streaming.
Right. There was no streaming, and there was cable, but cable was like you got HBO, you got your ESPN. There's not that even that much original programming. Maybe The Sopranos was on HBO at this time, but like
Yeah, it was
this,
still the era where people go like, well, there's five networks now:
yeah.
ABC, NBC, CBS, UPN, and blah blah blah.
And it really mattered what time you were on and what the competition was. So we knew that UPN had wrestling, and so we were like, this show needs to go on with wrestling, right? But what we learned was that what we wanted was the show to be like on with wrestling before, after, or whatever, or in the middle of it. And we learned that wrestling was basically an infomercial. Wrestling bought the time on UPN. UPN did not program it. Wrestling bought the time, and therefore they we couldn't go on. We couldn't like come on in the middle of it or right after. It was determined by something else. So what ended up happening was the premiere, which did pretty well, was on with wrestling, and then every other broadcast it was on after a romantic comedy. Do you remember this? It was on
Yes.
the romantic comedy. I don't remember what it was called, like Just About You or something like that, right? And that's where we ended up having to work after the Mullets got canceled. I think was oh no, that was it. That was Mission Hill, wasn't it? Do you remember how we had to work on that romantic comedy for like several weeks? And that was okay. That was a Mission
No, I
Hill.
blocked that out too.
Okay, so the Mullets was this weird lone piece of programming on UPN that had no place to go. And it really mattered what your time slot was. And our time slot was like at 9:30 on Tuesday or whatever night it was after a romantic comedy. And the audiences with the romantic comedy were completely incompatible. Like everyone who was watching the romantic comedy would tune out when the Mullets came on. And people who wanted to see the Mullets didn't want to see that. And it wasn't like we mistakenly had thought UPN has a night of stuff that attracts wrestling fans, and it's going to be like all guys are going to love fucking Dwayne Mullet, these wrestling fans, and they did, but they only saw it that one time. So this is what eventually led to the cancellation. We'll get to all the other lovely stuff that happened, but basically what happened is the ratings weren't very good, and it was entirely a function of that crummy time slot we were on, and it eventually just ended up drifting off into oblivion and getting canceled, which is unfortunate. But the network was lovely the whole way. They were
Yep.
very enthusiastic, and then what we can talk about now is the absolutely golden era of the summer of 2003 when the show had been ordered but hadn't yet been broadcast in this lousy time slot and was and that was the Death March. But before that, they ordered the episodes. We knew everybody loved it. And furthermore, this was also Josh, I'm telling you everything here. Do you want to say some stuff?
No, but since I'm just enjoying hearing that, I'm feeling these good memories coming back because it's also like it was talk like everybody supported the show, the production company and the network, which is really rare. And like people just loved it and would just laugh at like the readings and table reads and stuff. And there weren't any like we think you need to fix this or that. It was
No,
just like
it was
we love
fucking
the show,
amazing.
go. And then also, are you gonna get to like the Waters Ranch, which
Yep,
was like
yep,
a
yep. I got a lot of stuff to say about that. I'm taking
that
that
was
through the
like
thing.
that was like
I
a permanent vacation almost working
God,
there.
it was fucking great. Okay, so let me begin with the thing. We begin we got offices on the Warner Brothers Ranch, which I don't think even exists anymore,
No, they
right?
sold it off. Yeah.
It was in Burbank, and it was this beautiful. plot of land that was a studio adjacent down the block from Warner Brothers Studios, right? But it was basically a place that had it was a beautiful place filled with sets, and there wasn't that much. There were only a few sound
It was
stages.
called the Warner's Ranch because originally it was just to film westerns on, but
Yeah,
then it had these whole like 50s neighborhoods of all these houses from sitcoms that were famous houses that you would
yeah.
recognize.
The Partridge Family's
Yeah,
house was there, and then Friend. You know what? In the credits of Friends, when they're out in front of the fountain and so forth, that's them. That's the Warner Ranch. And there's a whole bunch of other houses that were our famous sitcom houses. Most of it will be Partridge Family house, but there are other ones. There are even like three-story buildings that were just
right. And
facades.
it was either the Waltons or Little House on the Prairie. That house was there. It was just a cool. It was separate from the lot, but it felt like this its own little cool,
It felt like a
isolated.
little resort.
Yeah,
And it was mainly most of the space was taken up by fake houses, but there were a few sound stages and trailers where people worked, and that was what we had. They gave us a sound stage, and it was art completely Mullets, all the whole sound stage, and we had a big trailer. We had a couple trailers, as I recall, one of production and one for the writers
right.
on the ranch, and like it was a sweet setup. Anyway, around this time, this is what happened. I remember the good vibes from the upfronts continued on because I remember that a couple different things happened. One, Entertainment Weekly came came in a big way. And Entertainment Weekly, by the way, had said that Mission Hill was awful, and I still makes me mad to think about it to this day. It really makes me mad. Um, but Entertainment Weekly now, 2 years later, was like, "Can we please come and write a huge article about the Mullets and take photos of your stars?" And we were like, "Okay." So they came, and then do you remember they came and they brought all these photographers and they had this setup. They set up in front of what I think was the old Partridge Family house. They brought like a muscle car from the 70s, and all the cast members were in front of the muscle car, and they took this photo that there was like a two-page spread
Yeah.
about the Mullets in their fall preview issue, and it was like, well, there we go. And I think that now Entertainment Weekly is coming back to us, and also even USA Today. Robert Bianco, who's a TV critic there, who was an extremely fussy TV critic. I remember him saying, I remember getting a newspaper at the 7-Eleven across the street, and I was like, "Oh, Robert Bianco, it's the fucking fall preview. He's gonna shit all over this show." But what he said was, this show is really funny but stupid, and a lot of people like Gomer Pyle, so maybe people will like this. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty good. That's
Yeah,
what
that's
more
what
can you
we
ask
wanted.
for?
It's funny but stupid in a good way.
And so then we had the writing staff. We had a staff of great writers, including Eric Horsted, who we'd worked with on Futurama, Aaron Ehas, who we'd worked with on Mission Hill, and several other guys who were Reed Harrison, the late Reed Harrison, man,
Yeah,
right? He was a funny guy.
he's
Um,
really fun. And Pat Verone.
Yeah, well, he only wrote one episode,
Yeah.
but that was so the staff was really good. It was small staff, and so we got to work, and we got to work on this thing. And I remember
Wait,
it.
Was Colin Lewis
Yeah, wasn't
on?
Colin the producer, or I don't remember. I think so.
I think so because he was a producer of us on The Simpsons. Then
And
he
Mission
came to
Hill.
Mission Hill, and I think he was on the Mullets too. But anyway, it was like a really fun group, fun
Tom
small group.
Lofaro was the line producer. I remember him.
That's him. Yeah.
He went on to produce all those many seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Um, So we got to work. The episodes, we had a million ideas for the episodes. They're all really fun. The actors were all great. I don't recall any trouble with the actors. They always knew exactly what to do. Um, and then we started just making up these episodes, and they were fun, man. Like that first one. Okay, the first one we filmed after the pilot was that one with Stephanie Lemlin. And remember how Stephanie Lemlin had been in a pilot we had done the previous year, and she was so talented. She was also the daughter of Reggie Lemlin, who was a famous hockey player, and she kind of a slightly tough vibe. And we had wanted her to be the convenience store lady, but they didn't. They wanted someone like a little more of a bombshell type for that. So we had her be this stunt lady. In episode two, she's the stunt lady who was a stunt lady on a show that's like Buffy, and uh, she and Dwayne is in love with her. So we filmed that outside on the Warner Brothers ranch, and there's all that stuff with the vampires attacking her. Do you remember all this stuff? It was really fun because we could film outside. The ranch had all
Yeah.
this great stuff there that we could just use, and it was no, it wasn't expensive like going out on location. We could
Right,
just,
because it was a sleepy lot where there weren't many other
yeah,
productions at all there. So like we pretty much had to run a place.
Absolutely. And they like we were like, "Oh, can we film outside today?" Like, sure. It didn't cost anything and it was so fun and easy. So we filmed that whole part outside with all the stuff with the basically parody of Buffy with with the stunt thing. And then I also remember we had another episode that was outside, which was the one with the swimming pool. Do you remember that one?
Oh
That was
yeah,
amazing. They have a pool in the center of that the Warner Brothers Ranch, right near where they filmed that Friends opening with the fountain is a pool, is a large swimming pool with, or was back in the day. It was a very large like swimming pool, and there were underwater. There were big glass windows, so you could film like you walk down the stair, these
that's right.
secret
Yeah,
stairs, and there were glass windows, so you could film underwater very easily. And we were like, we got to use that. So we did this whole episode about a pool party. That was a funny episode, man. I think that was Reed Harrison's script. And there was the whole thing. We had all that crazy shit going on at the pool, including the jet ski in the pool. Do you remember that?
yeah,
Man, that
yeah.
was fun. And the other thing about it was that I remember all these episodes, and I remember it was so much fun to work there. We never had to work particularly late because the scripts were always good and they were they're honestly pretty easy to write and funny. All we had to do was make them funnier, and we had a
Because
staff of
it's
really
also, I
funny
say,
guys.
by the way, like both the combination of the actors being so good and funny, and just the idea of being funny, it was very easy, and like they kind of wrote themselves the scripts.
Totally. And because the characters are so distinct,
Yeah.
I think you got to give Dwayne his funny turns of phrase, but like once you're inhabiting the character of Dwayne as you're writing, you can do it. And so like Weaver always had great ideas of stuff to do as well too. They were really into the characters, and they had what was really funny was the hair department. We had the hair department had all the different wigs on, like they're all wigs. With Hornsby's wig and Dwayne's wig and Bill's wig and Gordo's wig, which are all different types of mullets.
Yeah, we had a
Which
very extensive hair department.
is great, and the wardrobe department was really funny too. I remember that shirt. Do you remember when they made that shirt for Denny that was too? Do you remember this was for the pilot? They were making the shirts. They had the shirts that said Mullet Brothers Roofing, right?
Right.
And we were like, we had some of the debate as to how dirty they should be. And you
Oh
remember
yeah.
this? And they made a couple different versions, and one looked like Denny had barfed all the way down the front of it. And we were okay. I remember you saying that one's too much.
Yeah. That was the thing too. Even the costume department,
Uh-huh.
they were great and like loved the show. And it's like everybody was really into it.
And that's what happened. Okay, so the other thing that was was the tapings of the show themselves. The show was taped live, and this is the final chapter of the story because, as I said, we worked in this golden bubble during the summer of 2003 before the show actually was broadcast and didn't get good ratings. Everybody was going bananas about this show, and people like the tapings were like or a riot. There were people were laughing so much that we thought something was wrong. Like like everybody, we also had a good warm up comedian who got the people in the right
Yeah.
mood. And he
Oh,
was
and a side note on that, by the way, because like when you're doing an animated show, you don't
yeah.
have an audience, obviously. So this was one of our few live action ventures. So it was amazing to us.
Yes, it was. It was really fun to have a stage. We had the stage with the four sets on the other brother's house, and then whatever we're gonna build. We built that houseboat for this episode in Lake Havasu. We built the rooftop for that
Yeah.
one with Thomas Wilson, and so we had three normals, including one set was Mandy and Roger's like entryway, and then were there two rooms in the Melt Brothers house? Anyway, so we had our sets, and we had the crew was really into it too, man. Like I remember even like the takes. Do you remember when the guy was like the guy who did the clapper, who would say like take one or whatever, started making up funny mullets things for the clapper because they all had to be like Apple one or whatever.
Yeah.
So he'd be like sweat sock one, boom or whatever, and we everybody thought it was so funny, and so we encouraged him to keep doing that. And then the other thing, because I think people smelled money in the air, the people started showing up. Executives started showing up and bringing their families and stuff. Like, do you remember that guy, whoever it was, who was the head? He was the head of Warner Brothers, like the head of the conglomerate that owned Warner Brothers, showed up for one taping, and he was like having a party too. Like, there people big. The guys that were higher than Warner Brothers that were part of whatever conglomerate owned it at that time were showing up.
Right. I remember.
People were
Yeah.
like laughing like the crazy. It was like this was the place to be, at least as far as I could tell, during the summer of 2003, because it was like when we taped those things, it was a wild party. It was really fun. Everybody was having a blast, and everybody was loving everything about it.
And it's also a figure like when you have a happy set and people are you treat people well, and include like Gail Mancuso was great as a director, like working
Yeah.
with people. Like when you have a happy set, it makes the show even better.
It's such a good show. So, and the editing, I remember it was easy to edit. It was easy to
Oh, that
score.
editor we had was great.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that guy too. He went on to great success, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so everything was really fun about it. And we had this, we never had to work particularly late. We had lunch. There was a little restaurant,
Yeah, I want to talk. That's my fondest memory
Michigan
is
Jays.
Michigan
Remember,
J, because Michigan J Frog, was the mascot of Warner Brothers, the animated frog. So, but they had this it's like a hamburger stand, kind of like restaurant,
it
and
was
it
like
was
a, yeah,
and
shack. It was like a little kind of shack. And nobody ate there because there's nobody working on the lot except for us,
and
except for
so
the
yeah, and
writers.
it was really hot, but they had those like misters around. I remember that, and just you get
It was like
it
a
was
resort.
yeah, and the writers would just look forward to going there every day.
I know, man. That was a golden era. And then I remember I would say, okay, so that's the end of the golden era. What happened was it broadcast ratings were okay the first time because wrestling was on. Then after the romantic comedy, the ratings slowly declined to the point where by October we knew this was dead. And I remember that and that was unfortunate because you man, the show was so we were not that the pilot was not good, but the episodes were getting even better and better
It
and
got
better
better and
and
better and
really
better.
perfectly tuned comedy with this troupe of actors that we had and the writers. And so it was a shame that I remember though because I remember working there on I remember watching the World Series or part of it in October, whenever it was October, and already it was I could feel the doom in the air. We were in the we were in the office. I think I was the only one there, and I was like, I don't. What a pain in the ass. I knew I was drinking beer and watching the World Series in the office because I was like depressed about the situation, and that was basically the beginning of the end. And I remember I think I remember the day when what was Tom Lofaro or Tannenbaum or someone called and said they're pulling the plug. But we
Yes,
had
I
to finish
remember.
the episodes. Didn't we have to finish doing the episodes? We had to finish the 13, didn't we? Or did they pull it after
I don't
10?
remember the sequence of that, but I do remember the day that we had to tell everybody on the show that we were canceled, and that was really hard.
I think we only filmed the 10, but we had written 12 or 13 because I remember those last ones. This is also, we had hired Dave Thomas. Do you remember this? He came in for the last few episodes. Dave Thomas was the head writer, one of the stars of SCTV back in the 80s. He is one of the legends of comedy and one of the funniest guys ever. He gave us our first job in LA in 1991 when we were broke nobodies. And we always worked with him on and off through that. And we hired him to come in and help us with the writing as a consultant for like the
That's
I don't know
right.
last 4 or 5 episodes before it had gotten canceled. And I remember him being in the room. It was really funny, and we had a number of. I remember some of the good ideas that we had for episodes 10, 11, 12, 13 that never got done. Like that one, the last one was the one, the monster truck. And I know that's the one we were working on before, right around the time it got canceled because we were like, again, we were always delighted. I personally was, and I know we were both delighted to use everything on the ranch.
Yeah,
Go out
yeah.
film. So we were like, they had a gas station. Remember, there was a fake gas station at the front, and we were like, we want to have a monster truck come and crush cars at this thing, and we were figuring out the logistics of it because we were going to do it, and it was possible, and that was the episode we were working on, which I don't think the script ever got finished for, when the plug got pulled. And then I remember the sad days when I went in before we had to leave the office when we went in and they had destroyed all the sets. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We walked around the sound stage and the sets had all but some of them I think were being taken off to be stored to use for other shows. And many of them were just being dismantled and thrown away. That was a sad time.
Oh man.
So, so
That,
that's a story. Any question? Any
A
questions?
32-minute
okay.
monologue. You got about that.
Okay, that the pilot, right? You talked about an alternate ending.
It
What could you tell me about it? Because
it's the
I've
same
no.
story. It's the same
Yeah.
story, right? The pilot you saw with the pilot that was broadcast had the brothers go to WrestleMania and they got chased around by the Dudley Boys, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We didn't have that part. We had a fake version of that in the actual pilot because the show it was too expensive to go to the Staples Center and film with real wrestlers for a pilot. So we had a fake. I don't even remember because it's been so long since I saw it. We filmed some sort of version of it on a sound stage with just a fake wrestlers, and
Yeah,
I
but
haven't seen that
I
since the day
remember
we made it.
yeah, I think we do. I think we said like, you look, if it get picked up, we can film it for real. But then it was a big kind of tense waiting to like, would we be able to use wrestling? Would be able to go to the Staples Center? And I remember it was like a big day where they said you could do it, and that was very exciting.
Yeah. I remember it went up to Vince McMahon, who Vince McMahon had to personally approve it, and he did, and they liked it. I guess I believe he saw some sort of potential partnership down the road. And I remember, oh, here's one other thing I remember. The Rock. There was at a certain point the show started to get some sort of cachet. This must have been in early September, late August, early September. People were hearing about it and hearing about these tapings. And I remember because there were guest stars, like we had some pretty good guest stars
Yeah,
for
oh,
such a
like
small
Roddy
show.
Piper
Roddy Piper was
was awesome.
fantastic. He was
He
really
was
nice,
so he
so
was
talented.
so he was so like, we had a lot of nice guest stars, but he was really nice. He was awesome to work with.
He was shockingly nice, and he was really a treat. And then we also had like, um, I remember hearing this was again the right before the climactic moment where things The Rock. Do you remember this? The Rock, I think maybe when he was still called Dwayne Johnson, had called up or had his reps call up and said he wanted to be on the show because he loved it, or he thought it
I've
was,
forgotten that, but now I
or his
remember. Yeah.
audience, he thought his audience loved it or whatever. And that was I remember that, and then I also remember we had a number of other guest stars. Like we had that one. Remember how we had that character named Steve Sharp, who was funny, and it was we got David Faustino, who was really good at it. I
Yeah,
thought we
he
wanted
was
to get someone
excellent.
slick, but he was really funny too. And it's been a long time since I even thought about those things.
Yeah, and remember Adam West, who
Yes,
was like, and they were like, Adam West has some thoughts, and we were like, oh no, because he had a reputation of being kind of weird. But so I remember going to his trailer, but he was so nice too, and he's just like, Josh, I just wanted to make sure I get this right, and he was really Adam Westy and Batman-y, and but super also really nice. So that was
and there
like,
is a photo of us with Adam West. I remember
yeah.
that, and it looks like he looks like a wax figure in the middle of it because he's like that's. I remember Josh saying that looks us like we took the Madame Tussauds Adam West and we're standing around with it. But yeah, that was some of the so that was some other fun aspects of that thing.
So were you guys like big wrestling fans or wrestling fans at all? Because you in some of the episodes you kind of got some deep cuts with like in the pilot you reference George the Animal Steel and like Andre the Giant.
I was a wrestling fan in fourth grade. This must have been 1970. You remember Andre? You, Josh? We went to
Yeah.
school with our friend Andre Spark. Andre Spark. This was fourth grade, so it must have been 1976, 77. Andre, our friend, was in fourth grade. Was really into wrestling. Andre, this was and it was the era of George the Animal Steel and Andre the Giant. And I think we even went to one, or he took me to one match at like the Capitol Center or whatever it was in must have been 77, 78, something like that.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I didn't. I met Bill in ninth grade. So, but then all these guys like Andre became my best friends too, and so I just by osmosis knew about wrestling
I didn't
from
know that
these
much of
guys.
it except for the stuff from the late 70s.
Oh, right on, right on. Oh man. Okay, and also okay. So is was UPN like your first choice, or like was it? Would
I don't
you?
do we even go anywhere else?
Yeah, I don't remember because I can remember developing it with the Tannenbaums, right? I don't remember pitching it, so I wonder if we just went to them first, or like
I
maybe they
honestly
had a
don't.
deal, maybe they had a or the company were had a deal with
I
UPN. I
think
don't
UPN was our
know.
first choice because they had wrestling,
Yeah.
and that ultimately became our downfall. But I don't recall pitching it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was like just thinking like the other day, like remember Spike TV?
Yeah,
Like I mean, it could have been. I think if they would have put it on Spike TV, I think maybe it would have like been
yeah.
pretty.
Spike TV couldn't have afforded to pay for 10% of this of the episodes. Spike TV's budgets were extremely low, as I
Um,
recall. And this wasn't an expensive show. I recall it actually being fairly cheap as TV shows go, but it was way out of
It
the
was
budget of
still
any
really
cable
well
show.
done.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't hugely expensive, but there is a lot of quality craftsmanship in
there
everything,
was.
like from like the sets to everything else.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that guy. The guy that we hired to be the set designer was man. All those guys. That was the guy. I don't even remember the details now, but I
That's right.
remember we were super honored to get him to design our sets.
Yeah, he was like, I can't remember if he was a big movie or TV guy, but he was had done a lot of prominent stuff, and he was into the show too.
Yeah, and he did all those cool things like the houseboat for like Havasu, and the roofs. And I was always, oh, and do you remember those stunt guys too that we had?
That's right. They were good too. Yeah.
I
Because there
remember we
was a
had to do
lot
a
of
lot of
stunts.
crazy
That was a
stunts.
big, I remember that was a selling point of the show from the beginning. Is like, we're going to have a lot of stunts. Like, we're going to have a lot of big physical action as well.
oh,
Yes, that's the one. I remember. What episode is it? Is it maybe the pilot where Dwayne flips off the roof?
Yes, that's a pilot.
Okay,
That's the
yeah.
pilot. Yeah. That was, remember, that was really exciting.
Yeah, and we
It's
had a
like,
big
wow.
bag, one of those
Yeah.
big airbags, like from when
Yeah.
you fall to a skyscraper fall stunt. That was, but I do remember there was another part where we were doing more falls inside the studio, and there was a team of stunt guys that we had who were really funny. Who some of them did those things with the Buffy vampires, but then there was I remember they set up some sort of giant contraption for falls in the studio. I don't know. It's funny. You didn't see that kind of stuff on sitcoms very often.
Yeah. It was a big time production, even if it didn't cost a lot.
oh, okay. So now, okay, now I gotta ask, right? Michael and David, did they do like wrestling training? Because they did like wrestling moves in the ring, and then was it stunt people?
I think they were trained by the stunt people. I believe. I don't know that they made those moves up. I think we had full-time stunt guys on this show, if I recall correctly, and I think they trained them
Yeah.
to do the moves. Yeah.
Oh man, dude. Okay, and Lonnie Anderson. Do you have any like Lonnie Anderson stories, or like what was it like working with Lonnie Anderson? Because she passed away
Yeah.
Yeah,
recently.
she was incredibly nice and like she was like the mom. She was incredibly nice,
Yeah.
incredibly sweet, super smart, and she was just like she all these people like we couldn't believe I can't believe these people are committing to this crazy silly show and going for it. And she went for it, and John O'Hurley was really awesome
He
too.
was. He was.
He remember he invited us to he had like he
He
liked
had a
to live
party at his house that we
lived
went
the
to,
big
right?
life. Yeah, he invited us to parties and like he was friends of Alice Cooper. And so
He had an
like
interesting life, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, they were everybody was a delight.
Yeah. I don't remember any stories about Lonnie. Like the thing is, she was a total pro. She was really nice. It wasn't like she was hanging around drinking beers with us in the office, but she was like she delivered and she never, she didn't ever have any she was always the total pro, did a great job, really funny, really talented.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she was in a movie called Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain. Have you ever seen it?
No.
No.
Jim Varney's in it and Hulk Hogan's in it.
Oh,
Oh
we love
wow.
Jim Varney.
Oh my
I
God,
love Jim
yes.
Varney so much.
It's pretty good. But like speaking of beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon, my favorite beer. You guys had so much Pabst Blue Ribbon on the show. Like, did you get like an endorsement
Did
deal
we?
or?
Did we? I don't even
I th-
remember that.
I think we just, I don't remember that either. I think we just got permission. Like, I don't think our offices were not swimming in Pabst beer, but I think
No.
we were really excited because remember, we were like, this Pabst beer is the perfect beer for this show.
It was
And
before it had that hipster rebirth in
yeah,
like 2007, 2008 as well.
yeah. And I think we just got permission to use it and we were excited at that.
Because one of my favorite moments of the show was Adam West when he cracks open the Pabst Blue Ribbon and he says something like, "I could see why this got the blue ribbon."
I
Oh,
don't even remember that episode.
and then
What
he
episode
wait,
was that? What episode was
uh,
Adam West in? What was happening in the story?
it's the one where they get invited to the party
It's a Hollywood party.
and they in the
Yeah.
tabloids,
Oh
and
my
then
God, I don't
Adam
Right,
even
West.
remember that episode.
yeah, and Roger is really worried that the guys are going to wreck the party and be embarrassment. To
Silent
remember,
but deadly. Silent
Was
but
that the one
deadly.
with the one man party machine?
He's in it. He's in it because he's in the convenience store. Because they're she's like giving him the silent treatment
Oh, this
because
is
of
silent. Okay, I remember Silent but Deadly. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
And then like Adam West cracks open the beer and it does the Batman like psst, and
I'm gonna
it's
watch
like
that
gulp
tonight. I'm
gulp
gonna watch that
gulp.
episode tonight. I gotta find that and watch
Um,
it. Oh my God, that sounds funny.
it's so awesome. And then one of my favorite jokes is in that show because they're like, "Hey, hey, Adam West, can we get a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course. All right, meet me at Sears tomorrow or something."
that's a good show. That's,
And I was like, "Oh, that's so funny." Um, but oh man, there's so much. Okay, okay. So the music, man, on the show, like, cause you had the Scorpions, you had Rush, you had Anthrax. Like, what was the music? Did you guys like pick that music or like write it into the script, or was it just like, how did the music go? How'd you get the songs or pick the
That
songs?
must have been your department, Josh. I don't
I
remember any
don't
of that.
remember. Did Sean do music
I
for?
don't know. I don't know.
We don't. I don't remember.
I remember the only thing I remember about the music is that we wanted the for the episode with the jet ski, the one with the party, the wild party. We wanted to get the final countdown by Europe, and for some reason we couldn't get it because it was I don't know what there was some crazy reason why we couldn't get it. It cost 10 times as much as any other song or whatever. So we replaced it with something else. But I don't remember anything else about the music in that show except we were always looking for I remember the theme song that you and I wrote in about 10 minutes to get which was really fun. That begin I love that beginning. The main title sequence. But that was like I don't honestly remember the other music.
Oh, dude, because I gotta ask about the song because Face to Face is the band that did the theme song.
Yeah, they're awesome. They
Uh,
are. They're. I don't. We. I remember. You know, the brief time that we talked to them and stuff. They again. They were just like really into it. They're great,
They did a great job.
and
Yeah.
they're. Yeah, I rec.
We
By
wrote the
the
lyrics in about 10 minutes. I remember because we knew we we had learned things in the TV business. Like if you write the lyrics, like I think I read a book about this. Like their lyrics to the theme from I Love Lucy, even though they never used them,
right, and their
whoever wrote
lyrics
the
to
lyrics,
Star Trek, the old Star
yes,
Trek
my
song.
love is wandering in Starflight. The guy who wrote the lyrics got paid a fortune over the 40 years of syndication, even though they never used them.
Because
So this,
if you write the song, you get paid every time a show airs.
yeah.
So
That was why. Did you hear this thing about how Mark Mothersbaugh is like a zillionaire now because that show Ridiculousness on MTV uses Uncontrollable Urge from Devo as the theme song, and for years MTV just runs that show 20 times a day. So Mark Mothersbaugh has made an infinite amount of money compared to the other members of Devo for that one song because of that.
well,
Anyway,
no, I didn't know
that's
that.
why we wrote those lyrics to that song.
oh, right on. Oh, and I was gonna ask, because in that jet ski episode that you were gonna have the final countdown, you did have Anthrax's "Get the Time," and I was gonna ask because Charlie Benante of Anthrax, the drummer, is like a huge Simpsons fan. Like he's crazy
Oh,
uh
we didn't know that. We would have if we had known that. If we would have known that, we'd have had the band on.
Yeah,
um
for
Sure.
sure.
That's because also I love that song. I remember
yes
that song was it was huge at the time too, or a little before, but we loved it.
yeah. So I mean that's why I was like watching. I was like, dude, they got Anthrax in here. That's kind of
Oh,
cool.
there's a lot of people that we hear in hindsight were big Simpsons fans that had we known,
Yeah.
like Stanley Kubrick and Jodie Foster.
What?
Apparently she loved The Simpsons.
And Stanley
It,
Kubrick?
yeah, you didn't know Stanley Kubrick? He
No.
had I we're they we heard a story that his assistant would because he lived in England. His
Yeah.
assistant would bring this is before streaming and all that shit. Where his assistant would bring him videotapes of Simpsons episodes, and he loved it. He loved
Wow.
to
I wish
watch The
we'd been able
Simpsons.
to parlay that into some into
Yeah,
us meeting Stanley Kubrick.
yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
Cool.
Um,
I got to
well,
go in
yeah.
about 5 minutes, guys.
okay.
Okay. I just have a couple more questions. season two, right? Did you have any plans for season two?
We did not. I think because we were just getting, I mean,
We're
we
just
hadn't
planning
thought of
those
season two.
last
We were
episodes.
planning 11, 12, 13 when everything got canceled. So any, we hadn't thought any further. And I think what we would do is also, we would have kept it more of the same. I think the thing is, for shows like that, you don't want to tamper with it. You want everybody to get used to the rhythms of the show for a couple seasons before you start adding new character, or things like that. I remember that was why he didn't want us to do the Pompadour Brothers. Do you remember that? Do you remember that we had that?
The
We had,
rival.
yes,
Yeah.
there were rival roofers who were called the Pompadour Brothers, who were like kind of like greaser
They're like
guys. Who were like,
greasers.
yeah, it's like, hey, Dwayne Mullet, yeah, and it's like, and we wanted to do this episode of the Pompadour Brothers were like their evil doppelgangers. But then Eric Tannenbaum wisely said people need to get to know the Mullet Brothers before we can start having
So,
their
but in
doppelgangers.
season two, that would have been so good with
Yeah,
the Pompadour brothers.
yeah.
If you would have cast the mullet's dad, if he would have made an appearance, who would you have cast? Would it?
I always imagined that it would be someone like Chris Christopherson, honestly, who I don't know what Josh had in his head.
That Chris Christopherson, Chuck Norris, somebody like
Yeah,
that.
Chuck Norris would be perfect.
Because I was thinking Billy Ray Cyrus is an obvious
Yeah,
choice because
yeah.
the mullet.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Brian Bosworth, remember he used to rock.
Yeah,
I'm
he
thinking
seems like
more of a.
he'd be like the older brother.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
true. That's
that
true.
would have
That
been good.
there is, but we did. I mean, the only thing we ever knew about Mr. Mullet was that he ran off to follow REO Speedwagon, right? He was a true
Yeah.
Yeah,
wagonhead.
that's right.
Um, and the unaired episodes like Airband to Heaven, Sweet Emotion, Roger Gone Wild. Could you tell me about like any of the details
I
on
don't
any of
think we
those
filmed
episodes?
those, did we? We filmed the air bar. We filmed the one with the air guitar contest.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that because I remember the
We had a
audience like
bar. We had a
loving it.
fake bar.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, the others I think we didn't film. That must have air guitar must have been the last one.
I think so.
Um, do you know what they played? Like as far as like what the Airband to?
No, I don't. I'm gonna go dig around for those DVDs and see if I can get them to work. I don't. I don't have any recollection of that. Even the episode. I remember all I remember for the episode is the fake bar set.
Yeah, I gotta find scripts. I think they're in my garage, and my garage is full of spiders.
Let
So, but at some point, I gotta unearth those scripts
me look. You know what? Let me just look on the off chance that I have them right here on this computer.
because they were
I
so
I do have
funny.
all the mullet scripts somewhere.
Oh, nice.
I don't think they're on this computer. They're on some hard drive, some old hard drive. Huh. Okay. Well, I can maybe look for them later, but I don't find I don't see them now.
And I think I just have one last question. Okay, well maybe well it's not really one question. I thought it was cool that Lonnie Anderson sang Iron Man.
I don't even remember that.
She was cut when she cuts Dwayne's hair. She sings Iron Man as she does it because
To
they
like
get stuck
soothe
in the
him.
car.
Is
Yeah,
that when he
I
was that
think.
when his hair gets stuck in the roofing tar
Yes,
and he
and
has
yeah,
to
remember
yeah,
he's so upset about
yeah,
it.
and he starts talking about Kelly Clarkson.
yeah. And then
Okay.
Lonnie Anderson sings Iron Man. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Do you have any Roddy Piper stories?
I don't remember anything specific
I
about him
I
except that
re,
he was
I
so much friendlier than we thought he
Yeah,
would be.
I remember being on the set with him. I was being a little scared
Yeah.
beforehand because it's like, oh, it's Roddy Piper, and we didn't know what he'd be like. And he was like a gentleman and like so polite and nice, and also so gung ho to
He
do
really knew how to
anything.
perform the jokes too.
Yeah, yeah, he was great. He was one of those people like who I think we enjoyed so much that we were like, we're gonna have him on
Yeah.
again.
Thomas Wilson was like that too.
Yeah.
Oh, but dudes, I think we got it, man. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but thank you so much for doing this. This is such an honor. I was such a fan of the Mullets when it aired. Um, and it's just so cool to talk to the creators of one of my favorite shows. So
Hey, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having us, Jeff. This has
Yeah,
been a
this
huge delight to finally recount these stories, which I don't think we've told even to each other
Yeah,
for
I
20
don't remember
years.
half the things you said. And it also like this talking to you makes me really happy. I like
Yeah.
all the good feelings we had of making the show come rushing back. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, much
Oh,
appreciated. Please send us the link to the show when it comes out so we can promote it.
of course, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, man, for you doing this. It was such an honor, and I look forward to maybe you guys might bring it back someday.
I would
That
love
might be
that.
cool.
That would be so fun.
That
All
would be.
right, dude. Thanks.
All
Have a
right,
good weekend, everybody.
all
Thanks,
right,
Josh.
bye,
All
Josh,
right.
nice to meet
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Okay. See you. Bye.
bye.